Or get out.
Get comfy.
Yeah.
Come on and get comfy.
Also, the food court is open, so if you're feeling hangry, I heard some angry muttering before, maybe that was my stomach, you can head out and get a sandwich. Okay,
all right.
We'll be
couple minutes.
Next show. Plus Bitcoin education program. And I think this is a really interesting discussion just because we generally think of training new developers in Bitcoin technology. So, you get young devs, they haven't necessarily worked on a lot of enterprise projects. And that's generally the target group. But this program is looking at a broader section of developers. So we've got early career, mid-career developers, and that's going to bring some really interesting perspective. So I'd like to introduce Ajelex, Ernesto, Rodrigo, and Ricardo.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Hey, you guys. So I'm really happy to be with you. I'm going to be introducing some of the people I've been working with over the last few months. My name is Ajelex, it's an alias, but I've been mentoring and teaching some of the graduate students from Cubo that you have in front of you. So we got Ernesto, Ricardo, and Rodrigo right here. So I think you may have heard a little bit about Cubo Plus, maybe in other sessions. We thought it would have been interesting for you to hear a little bit from it firsthand with some of the graduates that went through the program. So that's why I think it would be interesting for them to share their stories, how they came to be in the program in the first place, maybe a little bit about their life before, and how Cubo was, but actually what it brought them. So who wants to start? Ernesto, Ricardo, Rodrigo? Who wants to take the lead?
All right, I'll go for it. So I'm a software developer. I was born here, but moved to Canada quite a few decades ago. And I got into Bitcoin in the so 16, 17. And then family issues. At one point, I decided that I was going to come back, but didn't know when, how. Then Najib, the president, passed the Bitcoin law, and then I knew I was coming back. And then in Canada, we had some issues with truckers, and I'm sure you heard about them. But that pushed me, saying, oh, okay, this is the time to go back to El Salvador. So I came to El Salvador, and somehow, little by little, the community, this is an amazing part here of El Salvador, the community is so small that you get to meet everybody. And I get to meet Stacy Herbert and Max Kaiser and everybody around. And I got the chance, and I say the chance because I didn't think it was possible. The Cubo Plus, it looked so amazing to me when I saw it, but somehow I thought it was only for university students. But no, they let me in, and you'll see the other story here too. And I was able to join Cubo Plus, and after all this training, I'm now thankfully working on a leading edge project with Bitfinex. So that's my short story.
Thank you, thank you. And you, Ernesto, I think you have a pretty cool story to tell on how you came to hear about Cubo.
Right. So in my case, I was a video games developer back in England. I lived in England for 12 years or so. And then I came back to El Salvador. There are no companies related to video game development here, so I had to find something else to do. So I was working as a teacher at different universities, a couple of universities here, teaching about development, animation, things like that. Then went back to England, stayed there for a couple of months. Then I came back, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? And this year, I was actually working as an Uber driver because I was a university teacher, but you know, we get paid per hour. Like if we work, we give lessons for 2 hours, we get paid those 2 hours. So the rest of the day is free. So I was like, okay, I need to do something. So I was an Uber driver, and then I met, in a very short period of time this year, at the beginning of this year, I met some people that actually changed my life forever, which is amazing. One of them is actually here, Roman, hello. So I just went to the airport to drop someone, and then someone else requested an Uber, and it was him with another person, and I was like, okay. And they saw my hat. My hat was actually an FTX hat. So, woohoo. You know, so icebreaker, obviously, because I was into cryptocurrencies, if you know what I mean. So, because of my background, right? Because I was a developer and I love technology, so on and so forth. But for me, that was like funny. So they were telling me about different wallets and different things, and I was like, okay, I'm using Binance wallet and the Chivo wallet, obviously. So anyway, that was like the first introduction to what Bitcoin only would be. So then, like a week later, I met Mario. He's not here. So he's the organizer of Cubo Plus, but I didn't know. It was just another regular, customer, passenger. And then we started talking about random things. And then I saw his hat, and it was like Bukele 2024. I was like, I have seen that only once before, and that was actually in an Orange Peel podcast. And it was Max Kaiser who was wearing it. So I thought, And I asked him, do you know anything about Bitcoin and something like that? So he started telling me, yes, of course, do you? And I was like, of course I know everything about Bitcoin, It was not the case, obviously. So he said, yeah, we're actually looking for developers to join this program. And I was like, oh, I was actually a video games developer back in where I was living before. And do you speak English? I was like, yeah, a bit, funny accent, but yeah, I do. So yeah, that's how I got into Cubo Plus. We started talking about it, and he said, hey, please, apply. I applied, and I'm here. So
Thank you for the story. And then we have Rodrigo, who's got a different story. So please tell us about how you came to know about Cubo and how you joined.
Yeah, I'm a systems engineer student. One of my friends told me about this opportunity, so I taken. And then during the course, I learned a lot, and now I have a lot of knowledge, technical Bitcoin knowledge, and it's amazing because now I can teach to other people how Bitcoin works and why it's so important to use it. And now I went to Europe to continue my story about Bitcoin, and it was amazing. Bitcoin is one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah. So you hinted a little bit on what we did and Cubo Plus. Maybe the people in the room would want to hear a little bit more about what it is, because I think it's a one-of-a-kind kind of program, because I'm just going to start and you guys can maybe tell a bit more. So it's a educational program for developers to teach them pretty much everything that they need to know in order to work for a Bitcoin company. Taking someone who doesn't know nothing about Bitcoin to being able to develop their own apps and join a Bitcoin company. And so for me, my experience as a mentor and a teacher was quite amazing, because I guess all the people in this conference, when your knowledge about Bitcoin has been gotten over years of learning, reading, and these guys been able to get all of this in 6 months. The Bitcoin culture, the Bitcoin knowledge, on-chain, lightning, so many other things. And so I think that's why it's a one-of-a-kind kind of experience. So there was a selection process. It was, if I'm not mistaken, 150 students at the beginning. Yeah, 150. And maybe you can, someone can go ahead and explain a little bit about the selection process and how did you go to be only like 20 of you guys, 21 of you guys.
Yes. Right. So that day when I met Mario, that I don't know if I told you, well, I don't know if you remember that I mentioned that when I was driving for him, then he said, oh, actually, can you do me a favor? Can you take me and help me print out these leaflets? So we went to a place, we printed out the leaflets, we went to a couple of universities, then we were talking about it. So as far as I know, there were about 150 people who applied. You know, they fill in the forms, including us. So from these 150 people, you know, there were prerequisites. Obviously, they had to speak English because all the lessons were in English, or at least able to understand English. Also, the other prerequisite would be to be related to system engineering or systems or IT or however you want to call it. So they started filtering people, the organizers, and then in the end, as far as I know, it was about 55 of us who actually started the course, the program.
That was in April, if I'm not mistaken, of 2023?
Yes, that's right. At the beginning of April, it was 55 of us who started.
All online.
Online, yes. So, and obviously from the very beginning, I felt like I was in an event like this because we had amazing teachers like Ajelex. So, and they were like full of energy telling us, okay guys, look, there is this movement called the cypherpunks and they want to change the world and this and that. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? So the thing is that we will have like 3 or 4 lessons per week. And then the following week, we will have tests. And then, you know, you had to study to be able to pass the tests. And that will be a kind of a filter. Some people will say, oh, this is not for me. So they will naturally drop. Some other people wouldn't pass the tests because they were, you know, not studying enough or something. But the cool thing is that we will get sats. So the first 10 people, right? You wanted to finish first because, you know, you will get the more sats, right? So, yeah, I mean, that helped us studying everything, like going back to the previous week and starting, you know, studying everything about the cypherpunk movement, so on and so forth, Satoshi, etc. So, yeah, that was amazing. That's how it started. And then in the end, after all these weeks, it was only 21 of us, the one who managed to go through the first period and went to the second period, let's call it like that, which was not online anymore. It was in person. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, maybe if one of you want to further the experience. So it was online at first, and then that's when I joined you guys, and that's when I met you in El Salvador. That was my first time in the country, and I was welcomed by you guys. So it was the Cubo plus Bootcamp. So maybe one of you can tell us a little bit more about how it went from being online to what was this bootcamp, and who was there, what did you do, what did you learn?
When we started with the online course, it was only the basis of Bitcoin. We learned about some economic things like money, what is money, why Bitcoin, and the cyberpunks. It was only the basics. Then when we started with the second phase, the difficulty increased a lot. So it was very intensive program. It was like all the day, like learning a lot with many topics. And it was very fun because all the teachers that we have, they're the best, and all the technologies that they handle, I guess. And I think all the students love this process because we share a lot of moments with our teachers, and all the doubts that we have in that moment, that all were answered, and I guess.
For those in the room that maybe know them, probably some people. Some of the teachers at Cubo Plus were Saifuddin, Peter Todd, Daniela, who works on BDK. Who else was there? Alekos. Jimmy Song was a
big
teacher.
Names.
Yeah, some really big names. And so imagine 21 Salvadorian during 2 weeks with these people 24/7. Even like, I mean, we were having dinners together. Like, it was like a really good place to connect besides just the classes and the courses. And so that's where I met them. I gave a course on mining, the economics, how to think profitably as a miner, because for some of them, mining was just this obscure thing where you just plug a machine into the wall and it doesn't matter how much electricity costs, and you make money. So I was kind of like there to just teach them a little bit more about this. And so it was really high profile teaching. And yeah, I think it was a great experience for all of you, because at the end there was a hackathon and you all build projects. So maybe one of you can tell one of the projects that they built during the hackathon. You won, so you should maybe tell what your project was.
Right. Yeah, but I think I just wanted to add something else. So, you know, El Salvador is not only San Salvador. There are many other cities, towns, so on and so forth, right, as you guys know. So the thing is that all 21 of us were from different places, right? So at the beginning, when we had the on-site, can we call it? So yeah, people came from the west, from the east, from here, from San Salvador. I am from San Salvador, but I was told, okay, no, you have to leave your house, say goodbye to your mom and your cat and your dog, and then you're coming to, because it's a boot camp, you know, you have to join us, and we are going to stay here 24/7, as Alex said. So yeah, forget about everyone and just focus on learning as much as you can. And yeah, I wanted to add that. So yeah, that was amazing. Absolutely amazing, but yeah, lots of things to take, if you know what I mean, because in a very short period of time, we had to learn everything basically, or as much as possible, because Bitcoin, I think, is really broad. So
Well, you went from what you were speaking before, saying at first, I know everything about Bitcoin, when now I think you're educated enough in Bitcoin to say that you don't know everything yet.
Yes,
you know, it's
exactly,
like, and I
exactly.
think it's a proof that you understood and you learned a lot of things.
That's right. I mean, for me, it was like, okay, there is going to be 21 million, and there are 100 million cents per Bitcoin, something like that. So for me, that was it. That's all you needed to learn. But then I saw Alex, for example, coming with this ASIC, and like, okay, this is a machine for mining, and we are going to open it. And it was brand new, and it costs thousands of dollars, and suddenly he was there just like opening it and like taking it apart. Wow, that was amazing. But anyway, about the hackathon that we had, but that was because we had two different projects.
I'm talking about the last one that we had at the end of the on-site bootcamp in El Zante.
Right. So for that one, obviously, 21 of us, we had to divide, you know, into small groups ourselves. So there were many different groups with many different topics that we had to cover. So in my case, I was really lucky because I don't know if you remember, but I told you that I was a games developer. So my case was to develop a video game. So that was like, oh, okay, no problem. But then we had to actually run, you know, Bitcoin Core, then Lightning Network on top of it, then connect our application to the Lightning Network that we were running. So it was not that easy. It was challenging. And the thing is that at the beginning, because we only had like a day and a half to do it.
Yeah, it was quite short.
Something like that.
Yeah, day and a half.
Yeah, so a day and a half, and then, you know, you spend more than half of it just thinking about what project you are going to build. I wanted to do something, the other guy wanted to do something else, and so on and so forth. So we had to reach a consensus, right? So in the end, we started working on it. We couldn't make it work. It was like really hard, but that's what it is about, right? Proof of work. So in the end, we managed to make it work, but my teammates, they were very considerate with me because, I'm a bit not as young as them. So they let me go to bed. They didn't sleep. So it was the case with the other teams, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was also a way for you to learn how to collaborate on a project, a Bitcoin project, because that's I guess that's the part of working for a Bitcoin company in the future. And the goal of Cubo Plus in the end is for all of them to be able to work with Bitcoin companies. So it was much more about the process and the result. And yeah, I think all the projects were great and resulted in something that worked, and that was great. And so this was the end of Cubo, the bootcamp itself, but it didn't finish there because the goal in the end was for all of them to become interns within Bitcoin companies. And so we can happily say that you're all now hired by Bitcoin companies. Some of you more recently than others, but which I think proves the point that you can have someone and who is dedicated and teach him about everything Bitcoin to the point where he's able to join a Bitcoin company and work as a developer or maybe other things in about 6 months, which I find very impressive myself. And so I was lucky enough to be with these guys because we were invited to go to Viareggio to Build the Builders, an event that's towards developers. And also we went to Lugano Plan B, so we actually just come back from Europe. So it was also a great experience, and I think we all felt really lucky to be there. So on that note, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how was it for you to meet the broader Bitcoin culture in the rest of the world, in Europe? But also, what do you do now? Like, where did that lead you? Working for, doing Cubo, where do you work? So yeah, maybe Rodrigo, can you maybe tell us about Europe? How was it?
Yeah.
Because you went to Berlin
places.
on top as well.
Places,
Like
yeah,
you were the one who went to Bitcoin plus, sorry.
Yeah. Lisa Nifty, she invited me to learn about NixOS with Bitcoin. It was that event was great because we're talking a lot with the other people. We are talking about like why NixOS, why the companies want to implement in NixOS, how to configure it. We do some workshops, and the people there, yeah, it was very.
You liked it?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
and then I meet with my other partners in Italy. They are in Italy. We learn about Rust, very intensive, because in the first week we learned about Rust, and the second week we started with some projects, making implementations with Rust from scratch, using some libraries, creating our own wallets, and then we take another class with Jimmy Songs during the Build the Builders. It was another very intensive program.
Yeah, so yeah, you guys worked a lot. I've seen it like over the last month. It was a lot of learning. So yeah, it was amazing. So I don't know. Maybe Ricardo, you can tell us where are you now? What do you do?
I'm working with the RGB group at Bitfinex. Thanks to my experience in development, software development, low-level bits, bytes, and all that, I'm able to join this group. So it's a very leading-edge technology, and I see a future in there. So yeah, I'm very happy there. And I just wanted to add, it's like the main takeaway of all this for you that you hear all this is the amount of people coming together from all over the world and putting all the resources because we didn't know how this was going to go, and and I'm like in the middle of. I was trying to think what was the effort for me that I needed to put to get to know all these people, and I have to say that it will take me 10 years of attending conferences, just trying to get a hold of somebody. And here in Cubo Plus, we had the chance of meeting everybody that, has touched, the low-level software to the names that we all hear all the time. And I just think of Giacomo, that I have to say big thanks to him, and Stacy Herbert and Max. Yeah, the main takeaway is that this is what the future holds for El Salvador. You're going to see a lot of stuff going on here because so many people are putting a lot of resources for people, and they let me in, born here, but a software developer in Canada, and I keep telling the kids, you don't know what you have. I was in Canada, I'd never seen something like that, so I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. And just to explain also a little bit who is behind the Cubo Plus initiative, it's an initiative that was launched by the Bitcoin office, and that was supported by Fulgur Venture. So yeah, those were the ones who made it possible, that initiated the idea. So most of you guys probably know about Stacy. She was one of the brains behind it. Mario, who helped her, he has a talk actually on Cubo, but on the making side that's going to be later at 3, I think. So Mario Flamenco, you can go and check him out. And so last one is you, Ernesto. And what do you do now? Where did Cubo take you?
Right. So yeah, I'm still a student. I will always be a student. So yeah, this is something that I guess I learned, that I will never finish learning about Bitcoin and all the possibilities that it has. Now I am working for, the name is a bit difficult because I'm translating it from Spanish. The National Commission of Digital Assets. So yeah, if you have anything related to digital assets, we are going to be the ones who are going to check it out and say, yes, this is valid or it is not. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment, which is great.
Thank you. So I think we have only a few minutes left, so I think you guys got a pretty good overview of what Cubo was. So we're just going to take that time maybe to respond to some questions if they are, and if they're not, maybe you have something you want to add, but that was pretty much Cubo Plus for you guys. Yeah, so I think Mario is going to touch on that subject right after, but I can already tell you, because it's been announced and talked publicly already, that there is going to be a second edition of Cubo Plus that is going to be bigger than the first one. So it's probably going to start in the first quarter of 2024. And if you want more information, if you want to share it to people around you, you can follow the Twitter account of Cubo Plus, as right now is the only way that I know you can kind of have information on what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So yeah, there is going to be a second edition, and Cubo Plus is also something that is being built on top of other initiatives that are unrelated but related to it. So there are lower level, I would say. So you have the work of people like Mi Primer Bitcoin that teach you about everything Bitcoin at a low level. Then you have other educational projects in the country that takes you all the way to the point where you could be applying for Cubo. And but yeah, for those interested, there is going to be a second one.
El inglés lo entiendo más, pero hablar ahí estoy perdido, como dicen. Lo que quiero saber yo, ¿cuántos estudiantes tiene Cubo Plus y cuánto tiempo va a durar ese curso?
En nuestro caso comenzamos con... sorry. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think it will be better in English. So we have started with 54 students, and then only 21 students from Cuba Plus are graduated right now. And now I guess 10 of that people are currently working, but the estimate, the duration estimate time is right? The estimate time? Yeah, like the estimate time, it was like 3 months. Because
3 meses.
yeah, because 2 months of the basics. We started 1 month only with the theoretical part of Bitcoin, and then the second month we learned about more technical part like Lightning implementations and how to run our own node. And the last month it was the course in person, like only 2 weeks with our teachers, and then I guess it was 1 week more, right? And then one more week with Jimmy Song and with Lisa Nifty. So it take 3 months, our course. So maybe the next generation it will be the same or less.
Los primeros 2 meses.
Only the first 2 months.
Yeah.
And can I ask, you talked a little bit about how there are, the online class was kind of like a cultural indoctrination into Bitcoin, but what kind of software frameworks, tools, like what is the focus? Are you breaking the group into different roles in the Bitcoin development process, or is everyone learning kind of a general full stack, and kind of what languages and specific details do you think are interesting?
Everybody was following the same the same path, and it was mostly a system level. You know, how to run your nodes, how to open lightning channels between nodes, command line, Linux, and so on. We didn't touch much low-level programming, and yeah, it was over the overall technology.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, let's give the students and teacher a round of applause and take a 5-minute break.